Thank you for tuning in to the Be Blessed broadcast. Let's go into the service already in progress.
And it says from Proverbs 13:22, you all may stay seated. It's going to be a lot of scriptures. A good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children. Now, that's the most important part, but I'm going to just tell you this too. And this wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. I like that part. It has kind of really, it don't go with what was going on today, but I like that part, Elder Watson, because it made me understand for the ones who not too saved, we all got to go someday, okay? And whenever the Lord calls they ticket, I know that God is going to bless because I'm the just, amen? And give it to me now, either in the NLT or the Amplified. And it says, good people leave an inheritance to their grandchildren. Okay, and then give it to me in the Amplified, and then I'm going to keep it rolling. A good man and a good woman, because it can be both, leaves an inheritance of moral stability and goodness. So I just wanted this one because it shows it's not just money, Apostle. It's not just a financial thing. So when you a good man and a good woman, you're going to leave more than just money. You're going to leave your child with some good morals and some goodness, okay? And it's to his children's children. And the wealth of the sinner finds its way eventually into the hands of the righteous for whom it was laid up. Listen, if y'all don't get nothing else, understand we have to have a hockey mentality on today. Although I am speaking to my young people, I want y'all to understand this can go across the board. It can go for spiritual children and children. And when we begin to think about winning the game of life and walking in our generational godliness and blessings, how can we win? That should be the question that y'all are asking. How can we win? And I must tell you, it's very simple. There's several things you can do to win, and I'm going to give you the keys to win. But when I think about this, I begin to think about things that, me and Pastor Chris do that has left us in good standings with our parents to have a good inheritance when that time comes. And as we're forging ahead in this season, God has given us the cheat code to walk in our generational blessings and godliness. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to happen today, tomorrow, next week, or even 2 weeks from now, because this is a process. And just like anything else in the kingdom, it's a process. And I want us to take a look at two people in the Bible, and I had to adapt the overseer mentality. So just so y'all know, hockey does stand for something, okay? And these two men are going to help me break down what I'm trying to explain to you. So the first man I thought about was good old brother Isaac. Yeah, good old brother Isaac. And then the other one was brother Samson. Isaac was the son of Abraham and Sarah. He was the promised child that God originally planned for them to have. Now, if you know the story, you know they went on about their merry way, didn't have too much faith in God, and tried to create something. But God said, that's not what I said. And when we understand when we're winning, we have to trust that God is going to do what he said. It's easy for us to fabricate and make up our own blessings that feel right, seem right, but that's not what God asked of us, and that's not what God promised us. So they went about and tried to make their own child, and that didn't quite go too well. It caused a little bit of drama in the household. Some people got kicked out. Some people had to go. My mother always told me 2 queens can't rule 1 castle. And I really believe that when the handmaid had this baby, I think she got her roles a little mixed up a little bit. But that's not what I'm talking about on today. I'm talking about how they left an inheritance. And so Isaac, he finally comes. And the Bible, now mind you, I was reading and I'm doing what I do best, and I'm just trying to get a better understanding. And it makes it very clear that Abraham was very old. Very old, okay? And when I thought about this, I said, Lord, back then the people was doing some extreme things back then to produce children at 100, 96 and 100 around in there. When now in today's age, they say you probably shouldn't go past 45 to have children. I don't know what happened down the lineage and the line, but I'm going to have to go back and do some research. But as I'm saying, Abraham left Isaac many things. And I've talked about this during offering time about the wells that were left for him. And please let me help you understand. Abraham left things for his other children as well. But because Isaac was the promised child, I believe he got the best of the inheritance. And when we look at Genesis 26, it says he was a wealthy man because the Lord favored him. And I told y'all, I've talked about this during offering about how he's in one town and he has these wells that his father had dug and he's getting flack from the people and he's like, you gotta go. You gotta go. You got too much, you're too wealthy, you got too much going on, you making me the king look bad because you got so much favor. I need you to go on and go and you gonna have to just figure it out. And so as he's going on, he goes to another city and he digs wells and he gets more flack from the people who are around. And then he makes it to the last stop and the Lord blesses him. He gets no flack from that, right? And this showed me that in order to have this many places of wells represent wealth. I am jealous of my overseer and my apostle because they don't pay a water bill. Why? Because they have a well. And it's a blessed well, and I keep saying we need to bottle it and sell it, but they have wells, and I've learned that wells are very prosperous. And I feel like in order to receive these several amounts of wells, because he made several stops along the way, you had to have been a child who was obedient, a child who showed some honor, a child who took some counsel from time to time. And then I looked at Samson because I said, wait a minute. I'm not really, Lord, help me out, because I don't want the kids to think if I just got to be a goody two-shoes. No, I'm going to show you what happens when you follow the hockey mentality. And then when you're laid up to follow the hockey mentality and you choose to do otherwise, what could happen? So then I look at Samson, and Samson is found, his story is in the book of Judges between chapters 13 and 16. And we know that this man he had a Nazirite vow. Y'all been in church, we've heard overseer and apostle talk about this. And the Bible also says that the Lord blessed him too. The Lord can bless us. He can birth us into blessings. But I've learned it's up to us whether we will continue walking in those blessings or if we're going to walk and take our own path. I love the Lord because he's a God that lets us make our own choices. He doesn't, force his will upon us. And he said, I'm going to put you here. Now, you can take the path of righteousness or you can walk and do your own thing and figure out where it leads you. Unfortunately, Samson said, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to live life. I'm going to do it big. He knew he was that guy, okay? He knew he was that guy. But parents, I must admonish you, please don't be like Samson's parents. It's a twofold thing now. As someone who works in therapy, I've learned that a lot of children I see, although they may be quote unquote bad or do not listen or can't take instruction, I blame the parents. I'm going to just be honest. I blame the parents. Because if you teach your child at home how to behave in public, although the Lord favored Samson, I don't think his parents really was teaching him at home how to really behave. I don't think they even really taught him, overseer, the true meaning of what it meant to have a Nazirite vow. Because we went over this in service and we understood that there was a lot of strict things to follow this vow. And Samson, like most religious folks, I'm not even going to call them Christians, religious folks picked and choose what part of the vows would work best for him. And he went with those. And so as we looked at this story, we saw that he was born into a Nazirite vow. And he decided to choose his own way. And then what made it worse is he didn't even honor his parents. Like I said, the way your children act and interact with you is how you treat and work with them at home. You will never catch a day where me and Pastor Chris will blatantly disrespect overseer and apostle in public, let alone in private, but we just gonna talk about it in the public setting. I would never be so mad at my parents where I get this. Listen, overseer looks nice, but trust me, she got a cold look and she's about it, okay? And I learned that she raised us a way to know when I say no, don't ask me again. If I told you don't ask me before we left, you bet not trying to find yourself asking me with me in public. And because our leader has so much grace and poise, I thought I'd test the limits a little when I was younger. And listen, like Desiree said, we've known each other a long time. And I find myself noticing when I'm up here to give examples of debauchery, Desiree is always included. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but we would find ourselves in front of overseer from time to time. Overseer, is it possible if Desiree can come over? Now, if you know my mom, she would just give the look, okay? She wouldn't respond. She just, that look right there. Watch it. And so me and Des knew what that meant, and we just went about our merry little way. And then when I got home, this is parents, the follow through. Our overseer talks about follow through. My mother is very big on not chastising your children in front of people so it don't embarrass them. But trust me, when I got home, didn't I tell you I didn't want to have no company after church today? I wanted to come home, do what I needed to do, and you was going to clean this room, and you was going to clean up these dishes. I told you don't ask. You didn't do what Yeah. Follow through. Now, Samson's parents, on the other hand, I don't know what happened. I don't know if they were overwhelmed. I don't even know what part of the line Samson fell in. If he had brothers and sisters, if he was like the baby child, the middle child, or the oldest. It don't say nothing about it. So we just gonna assume for this sake he was the baby of the group. And you like, why the baby? Because if you know anything, they always say the baby gets pretty much any and everything. And so we're going to say he's the baby of the group. We just going to say, I say the baby. I'm the oldest. And I feel like parents get a little less strict, a little less care, a little less worrisome. When it comes to the baby, they say it's the oldest, but me as PT gonna say it's the youngest, because this is why. When you have your first child, you on pins and needles. You don't want to leave your child with nobody. They can't go nowhere. Don't ask to go nowhere. But by the time the last one kick in, Mama, can I go here? I don't care. Mama, can I do this? Yeah, whatever. At this point, you done given up the fight. You don't want to be bothered. You just done. I agree to a certain extent. And it's only me and Pastor Chris. So it was like there was no real oldest, youngest, middle. We got treated fairly equally. Amen. Overseer was very protective over both of us. I think it's because she had one girl and one boy, so it equaled out. But when I look at other families, I've noticed when there's multiple children, the baby child tends to, I won't say get away with murder, but they tend to get away with quite a bit. Amen. And I think that he was the youngest. And I say this because when he went and he did his travels abroad, he went and found this woman who was not a part of the Nazirite covenant. And his parents said, maybe find someone within town. Let's get someone locally. And he was like, nah, she bad. I want it. They was like, are you sure? And he was like, babe. So what they do, they went and got the woman. Now, this story was kind of confusing to me because how you ask for somebody, overseer, you get said person. But then she ended up with the next guy. Oh, y'all didn't read the story. So what happened was Samson went, they got the money, got all the gifts. Samson was over here playing games, and they was like, look, either you gonna give us the answer to this riddle or we burning y'all down. That's what we doing. So either you gonna tell your mans to give up the answer, we tired of losing, we tired of taking L's around here, give us the answer or we burning all y'all down. And she became a nagging wife before she even said I do. Got the answer, and I guess that made him so mad. He went home. And I'm going to say he went home for a cool couple months, because how is it when he came back to make it right, Pops was like, where you think you going, bruh? That ain't your wife. I gave her to your best friend. I said, this is what, listen. I thought the story about the woman at the well was wild. That's wild. And so he didn't learn his lesson the first time. And then he gets with good old Delilah. And I'm going to assume she once more again was a bad woman, because you dated outside your covenant. And then this is where I find that he had lost it all completely, because now this man is stuck between a rock and a hard place. Literally, he's stuck between two pillars. And they're like, amuse us. And I'm sitting here thinking, how is a blind man bound and chained between two pillars going to amuse an amphitheater of people? I said, Lord, make it make sense. And this is where it made sense. Samson knew he messed up real bad. Like real bad. Bro was down bad, okay? And he prayed. If he didn't know nothing else, he knew to pray. That's about all he had right in this moment. He knew to pray. He said, Lord, if you can help me out this time, I don't even want to live. Take me with the Philistines. I'm going to just prove them one more time I'm still the big one, and we're going to roll out of here all together. And what happened? God gave him his strength. He knocked the pillars down, blind and all, and killed more Philistines he did in death than he did in life. I said, woo. It's unfortunate that you had to die to have all this kind of victory, but it works for me, because now I can teach your children how to be better kids. Amen. So you like, PT, what is the cheat code? How am I going to win? Give it to me. I need to know. So if y'all haven't caught on yet, the H in hockey is honor. Ephesians chapter 6, verses 2 and 3 in the Amplified says, honor, esteem, and value as precious your father and your mother. This is the first commandment with the promise that all may be well with you and that you may live long on the earth. I looked at it from a different translation. Media, you do not have it. It's okay. It's called the Easy Read translation. Side note, I have a Gen Z Bible at home. I did not bring it. But do know, I might make some references to it down the line, okay? But this Easy Read says, God's law says. They said you're going to put some respect on this, okay? God's law says, always respect your father and your mother. That's the first rule of God's law. That also has a promise. The promise is, as a result, so in order for this promise to be fulfilled, as a result of you following this, you will be happy and you will live for a long time on earth. Then in Exodus chapter 20, looking at verse 12 in the Amplified, it says regard. And I am in the Amplified. It says regard. Treat with honor. Do obedience and courtesy your father and your mother, that your days may be long in the land the Lord your God gives you. The Easy Read says, always respect your father and your mother. Then you will live many years in the land that the Lord your God will give to you. I had to look up honor because I needed to know. It said honor is pretty much holding someone to high regard. It makes sense. Your honor, they worked really hard to be the judge in the seat. We gonna hold you to high regard. Now, when we look at Isaac, we see he held his father to high regard. Even on that hot summer day when he was about to be the sacrifice up in the mountains, he still honored his father. Are you like, PT, how? Because he said, okay, we gonna go on this little hiking trip, we gonna go. Then he gets a little closer, he was like, wait a minute. I done been a few places with my dad to make a few sacrifices, and we wasting one key ingredient. The sacrifice. Did you forget something? Did we miss the memo? And I would have been even more shook. That's like us going on a family trip, and Apostle was like, hey, wife, Tay, y'all stay back. Me and Chris about to go. And then you leave my help at the bottom of the hill? Oh, no. But he went because he honored his father. But not only did he honor his father, I think he knew enough about God to know, I know my dad ain't that crazy. So God, I feel like he said his own prayer on the walk. Listen, God, I know it's just me and my dad right now, and it's given very much I am the sacrifice. I'm going to need a ram, a goat, a bunny rabbit to go on. Listen, something going to have to shake and break around here because I don't know. But God was faithful, and if you know the story, you know that God did provide a ram in the bush. Now, we know that his father was not a perfect man, and we know that. How do we know? Because when Abraham and Sarah went and they saw King Abimelech, and they was like, that's my sister, so you know. I've come to the conclusion this woman must have been fine. She had to be. For you to go to somewhere new and lie and be like, no, this is my sister, because you fear they may kill you for this woman. She was cute. She was cute. But parents, please understand, generational curses follow your children. You don't understand how? Well, unfortunately, Isaac went to the same place, made that same mistake. But the king said, hold on a minute. This feel like deja vu. Your wife, get out. If you touch them, you all gonna be put to death. I don't need no smoke with the big man upstairs. Listen, you didn't have to lie. Take what you need, kick rocks, okay? And so please understand that generational curses and blessings can come from you parents, but you need to make sure you differentiate which is which. I know we do not see much mention of Isaac or his siblings as far as being bad children, like a Hophni and a Phineas, or, you don't see much about him causing too much ruckus or anything. So I've come to the conclusion that, he was a good kid. He did what he was supposed to do. He honored his parents. He didn't give them no trouble. He did what he was supposed to do. And so as we look at the story, when Isaac had heard what took place and he went with Rebekah and found the comfort. So here's where I'm talking about. When you honor your parents' kids, so many things can happen. And I say this because not only did his dad leave him these wells that they didn't run dry. They just kept getting covered by enemies. They didn't run dry. But his father was like, look, his mother's gone. It's almost my time to meet her up there in glory. He sent his good right-hand man to go find his son a wife. That's favor. That's blessings. Because he didn't have to look for his wife. Listen, parents have your best interest at heart, I promise. I promise you. It may not feel that way in the moment, young people, because we're still trying to discover ourselves. But I promise you, they have what's best, our best interests. How do you know, PT? Because I've been there. But also because Abraham sent his best man and he said, look, I need you to find this kind of woman from this place. No, don't take my son on this journey with you. Let you do the work, and I trust God to follow you and meet you there. And that's exactly what happened. And Isaac got a wife, And he was consoled after his mother's death by his wife, and that's how he knew she was a good fit. And then we look at Samson, and I told you, Samson kind of just kept putting himself in these unforeseen, unpleasant places to the point where he was finding himself sold out for a couple pieces of silver by this beautiful woman named Delilah. And just listen, men in the room, if your mother and your father tell you, do not do this, do not date this person, do not follow these people, I promise you, just listen. Because I feel like Samson may have had an even better story down the line, overseer, if he would have just listened. You could have saved yourself missing eyes, a bald head, and being destroyed between two pillars if you just would have listened. That's all I'm saying. He lacked honor. That's what it boils down to. But not only do we need to honor our parents, but my O is you need to obey. And if you know anything about the word, the first scripture comes to mind is what? That's right, children, obey your parents because this is right. But I'm going to give it to you in the NLT. It says, children, obey your parents because you belong to the Lord. For this is the right thing to do. The moment that overseer got real clarification that Christopher and I belong to the Lord, my house changed. I know it gave her peace of mind, and I only know that because she tells you all about it, but you can tell the shift in the house as well. You clapping, but that wasn't a good thing. Well, it is now, but in the moment, like I said, I'm telling y'all from experience. The moment she says, you know what, y'all belong to the Lord. Y'all not going to keep stressing me and my husband out. I don't want no parts. You can't sin successfully. I'm going to just leave it like that. That's what it boiled down to, kids, okay? The moment your parents say, Lord, these are your children, I am just a steward, just like I steward the money that you give me. I don't want no parts. You tend to find yourself in the most stickiest situations, pleading with God, please don't tell my mama. Now, if you got a mama like I have a mama, Sonia, I find myself, let's just say there has been several times. Now, overseer, when I first started, she would call every day. Like every day. It didn't matter if she knew my class schedule. So it's like she knew when to call. When your mother knows that you have her genetics and her DNA, she also knows that her children are night owls like she is. So when the Lord tells her to call her child at 10 o'clock at night, and said child decides not to answer phone call, and then she calls again, and said child still decides, I don't think I'm going to answer that one. She gave me one for the Father, one for the Son. And on the third call, she left a voicemail and said, if I call you again and you choose not to answer, me and your father are on our way to Cal Poly Pomona to pop up at your dorm to get in to see what are you doing. I was on the freeway and I had to politely tell the driver, can you take me back to my room? Said person was like, what? I was like, yeah, I got to go back home. And they were not upset. They lost a lot of money that night. And I just had to say, they was like, make it make sense. Later down the line, said person then understood why I needed to go home after he understood the people who raised me. But also that night, it was a few things that went down, and I just was grateful. And so y'all are like, Pastor Tate, what does this have to do with being obedient? Because my mama told me don't go nowhere after a certain time. She didn't care if I was in her house, that house, and I left anyway. And when she called and said, you best answer when I call back, I sure did answer. I sure did. Listen, even Pastor Chris has his own stories of when he's out in his college experience, an overseer would call and he would answer and everyone's looking at him like, what are you doing, bruh? And he's like, this is my mother. I don't play about her. I may play about a lot of things, but I ain't gonna play about this woman. But that's because we honored and obeyed our mother. The easy read says, you who are children, obey your parents because you belong to the Lord. That is right. And Amplified said, children, obey your parents. And I like this one. Children, obey your parents in the Lord as his representatives. That means your parents are a representation of the Lord. So when you disobey them, you disobey the Lord. Okay, I don't think y'all following me. Jasper, when you don't listen to your mama, that means you not listening to the Lord. And when we don't listen, I already told y'all from jump, your days will not be long. It says if you obey equals long life. When we don't obey, you cutting your days short. Isaiah 1. I just thought it would be easy to help your children with scriptures on today, okay? So Isaiah 1:19-20 says, if you are willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. But if you refuse and rebel, you will be devoured by the sword, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken. So let me make it plain. When you are willing and you're obedient. So when you honor and obey, yes, you, my good children, shall eat the good of the land. But the moment you get some wind in your cheeks and think you too grown to honor and obey, it says you will be devoured by the sword. I'ma just say, you gonna die. You gonna die. Either spiritually or physically. Take your pick. So I just choose to obey. Now listen, this took me a while. That's why I said it's not going to happen overnight, okay? I'm 32. I know. I'm 32. And I've been getting this teaching all 32 years of my life. And Overseer Apostle will tell you, in all them 32 years of my life, a good 16 of them probably was a little rocky and shaky, okay? I'm not even going to say that. I'm going to say maybe a good 10. A good 10. I was a good kid, okay? I didn't start finding my way into trouble because of outside influences until I was about 16 going off to college. And that really is my truth. I really didn't find myself being into more trouble until I was about 16, transitioning into out of high school into college. Because what my mother said, I held as gospel truth. If my mama said, today the sky is pink, nobody better tell me otherwise. It's blue. No, my mama said it's pink, and so that's what it is. I understood, but parents understand. You see your children so many hours out of a day. You have this place called school, after school program, extracurricular activities that sees your children for a good 8 to 10 hours of the day, and sometimes more. So you see your children before they go to school in that hour window, and maybe an hour or two at the end of the day when they're home. I know. Yo, 3 hours compared to they 10 hours. Y'all following with me? You're tracking against some losses here. And so, like I said, I found myself around the age of 16 thinking I was grown and doing what I want to do, and found myself in quite a bit of trouble. To all the kids whose parents have been told, don't let your children have phone after a certain hour. Parents, take your children's phones and lock them in your rooms. They clapping. I'm apologizing because it was my fault. I'm the reason why y'all got this strict instruction. To the point I told y'all, overseer, she is a nice woman. She looks very nice. And I don't know. I love how y'all continue to clap at my demise. I don't know what possessed me to think I was grown T. And I pretty much was like, well, you didn't buy the phone, so I don't got to give it to you. She said, honey, I don't know who you think you talking to, but since you want to take it there, we can take it there. You feeling froggy, go ahead and leave. I leaped myself right on into my bathroom and hid for the rest of the night. I didn't even eat dinner that day. I was a fool, but I wasn't that kind of fool. And so I had to remember who my mother was. Listen, I tried. And I never tried after that either because I had to remember my mother worked probation, which means she had a cold right hook. I didn't want no parts. And just for you folks, you parents who was like, yeah, Pastor Tay, get my kid. Tell them about themselves. Here's one for you. Hebrews 13 and 17. Jasmine, give me this one, please. And I want it in the Amplified. Hebrews 13 and 17. Obey your spiritual leaders and submit to them continually. I could just stop there. Continually. When you gave your hand to showers of blessings and say, I want to be a member, this was your commitment you were signing up for. Obey your spiritual leaders and submit to them continuously. But I'll keep reading. Continually recognizing their authority over you. Well, how do they have authority over me? Because the Lord says that God will place pastors after his own heart. Yeah, so he placed these pastors after his own heart over this building, this region, this area. And you said, ooh, I'm going to be a member at this local body. And so therefore you signed up to understand. Listen, it's like an iOS update. When you update your phone, and I know none of y'all do it because I don't either, it tells you to read the new terms and conditions with the update. And y'all just scroll to the bottom and hit accept. That's just like y'all's walk with Christ here at Showers. Okay, let me take that back. Not all of y'all, some of y'all say, look, I want to join here. My spirit has been moved. These people are preaching down heaven. I'ma join. Count me in. And the moment they say something that you don't feel right about, y'all don't want to obey no more. Y'all don't want to honor no more. Y'all even say, forget y'all. I'm out. God didn't call me here. FYI, God calls you to where you need to be. That's Bible. I'm going to just keep reading. And it says, for they are constantly keeping watch over your souls and guarding your spiritual welfare as men who will render an account of their trust. Do your part. Their part is to guard over your souls and watch out for your spiritual welfare. But you got to do your part. And not just do your part. It says do your part too. It goes hand in hand. Let them do this with gladness and not with singing, sighing, and groaning. For that would not be profitable for who? To who? Yeah, it won't be profitable. So that means when overseer has to come down from her prayer wall to address minor things, you are putting us all at risk. When you feel like you got a complaint and you don't want to go to the people assigned to you and you got to pull apostle from what he needs to do, it's not profitable for any of us. They are our parents. We are their children. And if you can't talk to your big brother and big sister about your angst and you got to pull mom and dad from where they have to be, it will not be profitable for us. I'm just saying. For instance, when me and Pastor Chris would have some disagreements back and forth, and my mother has to step in, do you know how many vacations I could have lost out on if it wasn't for God's love and grace and mercy? It would have not been profitable for me if I would have kept on doing what I had no business doing because me and PK want to act a mess. Just like here. We can't get 13 homes in the ministry if we all bickering, arguing, and fighting because we don't want to get no act right. All right, I'm going to move on. So we have to honor. You have to obey. When we begin to truly understand how these keys go hand in hand and how our blessings, it will lead us for a life for fruitful generations. We can win this game of life and leave an inheritance for our children's children. So let me go back over this, kids. So in order for us to win, Joel, first we have to what? Honor. Then we have to obey. The next one is C, and it's counsel. Now, and I'm going to go through these somewhat quick, so stay with me. Proverbs 11:14 tells us, where there is no counsel, the people fall, but in a multitude of counselors there is safety. Proverbs chapter 12:15 tells us, the way of a fool is right. Yeah, the way of the fool is right in his own eyes, but he who listens to counsel is wise. The easy read said, foolish people always do what seems right to them, but wise people listen to the advice from others. Proverbs 15:22 says, without counsel, purposes are disappointed. And this is from the King James Version. But in the multitude of counsel, they are established. Easy Read says, if you don't ask for advice, overseer, your plans will fail. With many advisors, they will succeed. The Message Bible says, refuse good advice and watch your plans fail. Take good counsel and watch them succeed. Little people, please understand, you want to do big things in life. I understand that. But if I tell you, Joel, nephew, baby, listen to me. When you take 2 steps forward, 3 to the right, you're going to fall in a pit. That's counsel. Now, I'm older than you, which means I've been there. Now, you look at Jasper and say, Jasper, we should do this. And Jasper's like, look, if we go 2 up, 3 to the right, we can get there faster. Me being the older person, giving good counsel, and Jasper being about the same age with no knowledge, no wisdom, no traction, no nothing, is giving wrong counsel. And sometimes, kids, we tend to find ourselves taking heed to the people in the boat that's with us than the people on the yacht that's already past us. Listen, I had to learn this. I told y'all, from 16 to about 21, 22, I had some very life lessons I needed to learn. And for some strange reason, I thought me, Dez, and a few other people in this boat that we're all sinking together in had the right answer. When my mother made it very clear, you should not hop on said boat. But what did we do? Hopped on said boat and was sitting there looking like the Titanic, trying to figure out who gonna get the last piece of wood to survive. Listen, when counsel is given to you from people you know are going to lead you in the right direction, please do not ignore it. Don't ignore it. Like I said, I was that kid. I know. I've been there. I felt like what my mother was saying was a bit much. I just wanted to know, why couldn't I go to the club with everybody else? And trust me, on Wednesday, I'll make sure I bring up that conversation with one of our panelists. We went to high school together and junior high. And she'll tell you, I was the kid. I didn't get invited to parties. I didn't get invited out because they knew. Moving here, I had the reputation. Oh, you the pastor's daughter. How did that get spread so fast? I'm still trying to figure that out at 32. How did y'all know? But it kept me from a lot of trouble. I was mad. Look, I wanted to be grown so bad, I was like, fine, I'll go pass out tracts at the club. I don't know why I thought my mama was boo-boo the fool. And she said, okay, and gave me a stack full and was like, and they better be gone when we come get you in an hour. What? Listen, children, when you are receiving counsel from those who are leading you in the right direction, hear that part, leading you in the right direction. Not on the same path and trajectory as you. Y'all both confused and lost. You don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. We're going to roll the dice and figure it out. But when you have someone who is leading you in the right direction, take heed. Please take heed. And as someone who has worked in the health profession, I will tell you, sometimes adults do give wrong directions. I'm going to just keep it a buck. There are parents who are teaching their children wrong directions. So that's why I said, listen to the people who are giving you right counsel to put you in the right direction. Just had this conversation with one of our collectives the other day, telling them, look, you've been gone. You still ain't making the best decisions. I've never told you anything to lead you astray. Why would I start today? And they looked at me and said, you're right. I'm listening. I'm trying to help you and your children go in the right direction. And I've learned it could be a little hard because it feels uncomfortable. When you're surrounded by so much dysfunction and you're trying to be functional, it feels uncomfortable. You feel a little weird, but it's okay. Continue to follow in your functionality, okay? So you need to honor. You need to obey. You need to heed counsel. The next one is knowledge. Listen to knowledge. Knowledge is defined as having the facts or the information, the skill that you've acquired through experience and education. Now, like I said, me and Dez, we the same age. We on the same trajectory, going the same way. There is nothing that we could potentially tell each other to go from square A to square B, knowing we in the same boat. We're still trying to figure it out. But we know that square 1 through 10, we got that. We learned them skills. That's why we can tell your kids about blocks 1 through 10. Now we need overseer to give us the knowledge and information to go from point A to point B. And some of us miss it. We think because we've made it to square A song, we know everything now. I don't need no help. I got this. I've been a Christian long enough. I'm old enough to be her parent. How's she gonna tell me how to be a better Christian? Oh, y'all, okay. I'll do you one better. Who she thinks she is? I'm as old as her mama. She can't tell my kid how to be. She ain't got no kids her own self. I've learned enough knowledge from a person who has the knowledge and the skill to equip your children. I've even chalked it down to this song. I got the knowledge to know don't go having no kids before marriage, and that's how I could tell you how to help raise your children. But I didn't say that. Y'all just got my thoughts, okay? Okay, that don't work for some folks. I went to school, got 2 degrees to work with your children. How about that? So I can tell a dysfunctional parent, hey, maybe you should try X, Y, and Z with your kid and see how that works. And if it doesn't work, come back so we can regroup and re-strategize. But because I don't have kids, don't mean I'm not knowledgeable to help teach your kids. Now, I need you to understand something in my few minutes that I have left. I need you to understand, kids, knowledge is the starter pack, right? So for all of my kids who play video games on their parents' phone, y'all all know there's the base pack, right? But you can buy extra packages along the way, overseer. For instance, Jasper plays a game on Fernando's phone. Jasper wants more points, packs, and what have you. So what does he do? Overcharges Fernando's phone to get said, don't go nowhere now, to get said items he wants. He wants to upgrade his basic character. So, in order to upgrade yourself from being just a basic, knowledgeable, understanding human, the Bible tells us the best way to get that extra lucky star is to have some wisdom. Wisdom. You want to enhance your hockey experience? Have some wisdom attached to it. Let it level you up some. Wisdom is being able to take the knowledge, which we said knowledge was the facts and information and skills that you've acquired through education and experience. So take all that, add a little razzle-dazzle to it, and when it comes time to implement what you've learned, you can execute it correctly. That's wisdom. DJ, you know when I get on the freeway, I need gas. Right? When I go back to San Diego, I need gas in my car. Wisdom says, it's a long drive. I got about a quarter of a tank. I might not make it down to home. I'm going to go ahead and fuel up the night before. That's wisdom. For some of us adults who are trying to save money, knowledge says, I don't really need to be eating out much. That's knowledge. That's facts. Wisdom now says, I'm going to cook at home the night before, meal prep the rest of the week, and be set. That's wisdom. Knowledge is, I've come to Christ. I gave him my hand and my heart. I'm going to walk this thing out. That's knowledge. Wisdom says, I'm going to level up and go be a witness to get more people, to get them to get the knowledge. That's wisdom. Some of us, unfortunately, are stuck at that knowledge square, overseer.
Thank you for tuning in to the Be Blessed broadcast. We pray that you were blessed by the message. If you were, please like, share, comment, and definitely subscribe. But remember, here at Showers of Blessings, we want you to be blessed.